Hi, developers of Agile Toolkit. I want to discuss with you a proposal, an improvement to one of the features in Agile Toolkit models, which is model traversal. And to explain how this proposal will work, I will show you on a sample database and a couple of sample models. So in this example, I have user purchase an item. User obviously can make a couple of purchases. Each purchase would have a date, and obviously every item have a price. So the task we have at our hand is how to calculate the amount paid for all the purchased items by a single user. If we look at the models, probably most obvious way to create models would be to create three classes. One is for the user, and user has a relation to the purchases. This is a many-to-many relation, which obviously adds date. And finally, we have an item. An item has a price. Now, what we need to do here is create an expression called total purchase amount. So, this field must be equal of sum of all the items purchased. And there are no obvious way how to do it, but you can implement this currently with Agile Toolkit 4.2 using a concept of joins. And this is what you would need to do. It's not very easy to come up with this, but it's a known technique. So you can create a combination of those two tables, and I'm going to call them item purchase. And this is also going to be a class. Extends model item. And what this class is going to do, apart from doing exactly the same thing as item, is joining a purchase table. And if we want, we could do we could also import the date field like this. So what happens now is that I can replace purchase here with item purchase. Okay, now when this is referencing, I also need to set a proper field. So I will need this one item. Obviously, it's using item ID from the purchase table. This is what this line means. And yeah, when I make relation in the other direction, I use item purchase, and it will automatically use an item ID field. So now that I need to calculate the total purchase, it's really rather straightforward, because the way how Agile Toolkit sees this model structure is we don't have many-to-many relationship anymore, but we have a many-to-one relationship. One user can have many item purchases, but item purchase can also only have one user. obviously, if we're going to add a new item, we're not going to use item purchase. And if we are going to add a new purchase, we're also not going to use this model. So it's kind of really solution only for displaying these things. Okay, now let me complete this expression. Okay, the first argument is a model itself, and the second is a query. Okay, so this is a standard syntax on how we can refer from one model to another and maintain a field and keep fields keep the proper on condition. So what is going to happen here is, first of all, it will create a new item purchase. So select from item, join purchase, and as per this statement on purchase ID, item ID. Okay, that's the current way how this is done, and because it's a refSQL, it is also the condition where I purchase ID equals user ID. I'm not 100% sure that this is the right syntax at the moment, but I haven't tested, but this is the way how we do things right now. It's pretty powerful, but unfortunately we need to create those hybrid models, and then the only possible relation is between those two. So my proposal is about coming up with something different, and it is a deep traversal of models, between models. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to restore the purchase here, item, and obviously this model is commented out. And in order to do this, we would need to traverse, but through not by one model only, but using two model traversal at the same time. Purchase slash item ID. Okay, you are already familiar so with ref traversal, so you understand that it's potentially could do something like this. Yeah, I mean, this returns the purchase model, and you could traverse inside this this relation using item ID. So what happens here is that first of all, this is being divided into separate components, and first loading a purchase model, then we figuring out which model item ID is pointing at, and it's item model. So that this returns an item model. Then it automatically creates a join between the item ID and the purchase. So it's what we were been doing here, but is done on the fly without you needing to come up with it. It's just done automatically. And finally, the purchase user ID is associated with this model's ID field. So it really returns pretty much the same thing, and this dependency is not using values. instead it's using a field. Therefore, it can be used as expression. And for example, now if we add model user in a lister or a grid, it will simply enhance the query by adding a subselect, and it will build. It will include a field called total purchase and will contain a count of not count, sorry, but sum, total sum of all the purchase prices. Now there is one challenge here, and it is if the intermediate model, such as purchase, would actually consist of multiple table joins. And the way how I think I can solve this is by switching between joins into a subselect. So in case a purchase would be a complex model, instead of putting it as a join, it will be used in a subselect, such as this would go inside here. I mean, that's right. Purchase ID, where purchase user ID in, and here we have this subselect. Just select from complex whatever model, join something else, and in here we say where intermediate field equals user ID. Okay, so but of course you, as a user of Agile Toolkit, don't need to worry about that. All you need to know is that you can actually traverse through multiple models like this, and to make it consistent, probably will also implement multiple ref traversal as well, such as you could say, unfortunately, well, now let's say, how do we do this? Because you see, ref can be used only if the model is actually loaded. So if I write purchase, then X will not be loaded, but it will have condition applied. If I call ref item ID, I will get error because it doesn't have entry, therefore we don't know which exactly item needs to be loaded. It works fine with expressions, but it doesn't work fine with traversal of actual values. Yeah, but if we would have something like ref item ID and then ref details, okay, maybe there are two tables, and the field item details ID of an item table would contain additional information about that item, possibly. Then instead of writing it like this, we might write it like just with a slash. Okay, and it would just be consistent with this format. I'm not sure yet if it will simply load this model first and then load this model, that's probably, or if it would create a model chain, basically create this model and join it with this model and then load them both all together. I'm not sure about that, but I'll probably figure it out with a couple of tests. Anyway, I'd like to get some of your feedback. What do you think about this traversal feature? And just to show you another example, where I intend to use it extensively to begin with, let's say the user has this font. Okay, so that's a currently valid construction. It will create a field which is imported from a plugin of file store, and when editing this model, this will be shown as a field upload field where you can choose a file and it will be properly cropped, and the thumbnail will be also saved. The question, if you listing users, how can I access thumbnail? And currently it's pretty complex expression you need to build. So how can we do it using this new scheme? And it's actually pretty simple. You would say add expression, let's say thumb URL, which would go inside picture ID, and then thumb ID. Okay, and this allows us to get the model for a file which represents a thumbnail of uploaded original file. So if you would look at how this would work in statements, it will be something like you get user table, join file store table, join image table, and then join file store table again to get this thumbnail. Of course, instead of joining this, we will have a subselect here, file store image, join image, join file store original file, let's say, something like that, user as thumb. I'm just writing it conceptually here. So that's what's possible, but you already know that you could do count, and you can also do sum of certain fields, but because relationship here is basically many to one, we can certainly determine how which the field is going to be exactly. So we just need from this model to get a single field. By default, model will query several fields. If I do something like what is select statement, or I don't remember. But I'm also adding a new method called field expression. Sorry, that's not field expression, but field query. There is already in the current version of Agile Toolkit, there is a title query. So you can actually use this, and by default it uses the name column, and this is what is used in drop-down. Pretty handy thing. And the new one is field query, and you could specify any field in here, such as name. It will be equal to the name of the file. But the new field, new expression of a file model in file store is called URL, and it's equal to the full and proper URL of your file in the file store. And obviously, if you're using a CDN, you could extend associate model here and teach it how to generate this URL field properly, how to construct it from maybe possibly additional fields in the database. Okay, so yeah, that's basically how with a new structure, with a new capability of deep traversal, you would be able to get this information. And right, yeah, that's right. Okay, thanks for watching, and let me know what do you think.